Ristas, Krimvase, Azantes, welcome video lovers, welcome to Tech Nerd 1.0. Adventurers, the winter wonderland has come down upon us.
This is hard for you, but winter is coming.
So we are at the alternate workbench at this point, and it is just after Thanksgiving 2024. Black Friday is approaching tomorrow, but I wanted to speak about something that I think may be approaching. Something at least I think we should talk about, and that is the Trump slump. Now, politics aside, we will not get into any of that here, but there definitely was something to this, at least in the first term. Now, you may be asking yourself, what exactly is the Trump slump? What is this? I've not heard of this term before. Enlighten us as to what this is. Well, I'm here for you. I am. So let me tell you a little bit about this. And maybe some of you don't remember those years. The Trump slump refers to a kind of general decline in firearms and ammunition sales that occurred during the presidency, the 45th presidency. And this phenomenon can be attributed to a few factors. And first being a perceived lack of threat to any gun control rights. So during the Obama administration, fears of stricter gun laws, gun control, led to a surge in firearm ammunition purchases. Trump was generally thought of as a pro-Second Amendment president when elected. Those fears largely subsided, reducing the sense of urgency to stockpile firearms and ammunition. And if any of you remember those times, that is quite true. There was that perceived fear up to the point of election. And when that was over, it seemed like there was a sigh of relief. But with that came all of this stuff. And that's kind of the second point. That is the market saturation. So what basically happened is this next point is that kind of Obama era surge had already equipped many gun owners with ample supplies of firearms and ammunition, leading to a saturated market. So basically, everyone who wanted something had kind of already got it. And everyone who wanted to stockpile and get their ammunition had kind of already got it. So they had already built up in fears that a Clinton presidency could even have meant another, maybe assault weapon ban, or maybe further ammunition bans, or increases in prices. So many people already had pretty much what they needed. Now, that led to the third point, which was generally a decline in demand. So with no immediate threat of legislation, demand for firearms and ammunition dropped, resulting in lower prices, slower sales. Manufacturers and retailers often had a large surplus inventory, which really drove prices down. And it really was a perceived lack of urgency. So people weren't going out there and grabbing everything. And what had happened is suppliers and manufacturers had been ramping up production for so long to meet previous demand. Now the factories were full and they had all of this stuff on hand. During 45, I was seeing, complete ARs for just a little over, 300. And that was kind of crazy. And now, granted, they were lower end, but they were out there and they were ARs and they went bang.
Usually.
But that drove other prices down as well. However, the question really is, is now that we have the prospects of a 47 presidency, is that going to come back? Is that Trump slump going to return? And if so, what effects is that going to have? Could it could it return, and B, what would that look like? Well, as far as if it could return, let's think about that. First off, if a pro Second Amendment candidate is inaugurated, you could expect a similar dynamic to the Trump slump to emerge. Gun owners may feel less pressure to purchase firearms and ammunition, leading to a decrease in demand and lower prices. And we do know from several other reports, many YouTubers here have toured factories, just even 22 factories have really ramped up production. And there is a lot of stuff out there. If you go to the store now, supplies are in. Now, their prices aren't what they used to be, but the supplies are in. Now, conversely, if the incoming administration is perceived to likely be a pursuer of stricter gun control laws, yeah, generally that would drive prices higher, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Now, we can argue over Trump being pro or anti Second Amendment, but I think we can at least agree that he is more pro Second Amendment than the alternative. So I think there will be that lack of urgency that will return. There will be a collective sigh that goes across the 2A community, and I think a lot of people will slow down their buying, at least. Now, here's the thing, though. Inflation. We have inflation. There still are supply chain disruptions, and manufacturing costs are still high. I think a lot of that because we're still under the influence of issues with the COOF. We still are at a lack of skilled employees because of that, because many left the workforce or never came back. So that is still an issue. Regardless of the political dynamics, even in a pro-gun administration, these factors could prevent any significant price drops. I think that is something we have to take into factor. So lastly, I think you have to look at current market trends. Now, firearms and ammunition manufacturers did learn from that Trump slump, and they may be able to adjust production to avoid an overproduction. So this could moderate any potential price drops, even if demand decreases. I don't think that is going to be as much of an issue. Now, they can quickly pivot, and I think they can pivot a little quicker than they did, and I think they did learn stuff. However, we do still have a large amount of stuff built up that is still out there in the, in supplies. So unless they just up and stop production, which of course is going to possibly harm, work, I still think that there is going to be something of a slump there. So another thing I think we have to look at is, as I said, supply chain issues are a big part of this. And this seems to be one of the things that is driving all prices up. I think that's one of the things that is increasing food prices. Cost of fuel and transportation is highest among those. So that, I think, until that is solved, which that could be solved quickly, a possible opening of different drilling that could alleviate those fuel prices. I still think there still are issues with getting everything to where it's going, though. I still think that's an issue. The other issue is conflicts outside the United States, and if those could have an effect. So even if we do have large supplies of NATO type ammunition, any sort of conflict outside the United States is going to gobble all that up. And I think we saw that during the Biden administration. So conflicts in Ukraine, Soviet Union, and in the Mideast, that's going to gobble up 5.56, certainly 9mm, definitely, and all the other ammunitions that kind of surround that. If anything breaks out anywhere else, we have to assume that there's going to be issues. We have problems in our country currently because our manufacturing base for these type of items has decreased. In fact, the last time I knew, we didn't even have any lead mines. The last one, as far as I know, closed during the Obama administration. We currently import all of our lead from outside, mostly from China. So that means, again, if there is any sort of conflict and we are on the wrong side of China, that's going to be a problem for us. And that's really going to drive prices up. So now I think with the incoming administration, I think the chances of that are nil. I don't think we're going to see as much of that. So I don't know. I hate to say maybe yes, maybe no. I think though, given the current political climate, another full-scale Trump slump seems less likely. The firearms market has become more resilient and more adaptive to political and economic fluctuations. Prices may stabilize or decline under a pro-gun administration. However, I believe it's unlikely to reach levels seen during the first Trump presidency under 45. I think we will see prices will go down if the prices of everything else goes down. And I think that starts with fuel. If fuel prices go down, I think you will see an immediate or near immediate drop in everything. And that means food, anything that you find at Walmart, and ammunition as well. That really affects everything the most. So, and then we will get trickles in from there as to what happens. But again, with all of this stuff out there, I think we will see a lowering of prices. I don't think we're ever going to see it get back to where it was. So it is something to think about. The most I would want everyone to take away from this message, though, is if prices do come down again, if they crater even, don't tarry. Don't be lax. Don't be lazy. Buy it. Buy it up when it drops. If it gets to be where it used to be even, buy it up, because everything changes and you have no idea what's going to happen in the market from day to day. Prices could drop, everything could be fine, and then all of a sudden hostilities could break out in the Ukraine or in the Middle East, and then all of a sudden that's going to eat up supply. So you have to stay resilient. You have to stay ahead of the game. And that is why everyone always tells you, when you go out every week or every couple weeks, when you get paid, just buy a box or two. Buy something, and something that you use, and keep it on hand. If you reload, but you're going to need regular boxed ammo. And if you have any firearms to purchase, keep that in mind too. If you haven't already gotten everything you want to get, if prices do come down, I would act on that and I would get it. And I think, or at least I hope, at this point everyone has learned that lesson. But we do have a lot of new gun owners and buyers out there in the market. So it's important to keep reiterating these lessons that we have all learned ourselves, and let the next generation of owners and such understand that and get those lessons that we have learned. Folks, I hope this was of some use to you. I hope this was some enlightenment to you. If it was, I hope you would do the pleasure of giving us a like, a share, and a subscribe. If you could also remember, do have the ability to take super thanks now, and we're also taking memberships. So keep that in mind as well. We're going to be doing one exclusive video per month, open only to members. I'm going to start some chat features, maybe Discord or something like that. And we're going to be looking at possibly doing some merch as well. Folks, stay tuned out there, stay frosty, and remember to fire off a shot at that bell notification so you can be apprised of when all of our videos drop bright and early every morning at 9 a.m. Folks, this is Tack Nerd, and I am out of here.